you're gonna break into. Crazy love, you got me worried. I don't know why you make me blue. Every time I call your telephone line, I gotta stop and hang up on you. Gives me the vapors, got me weak in the knees, Lord. Crazy love, you make me cry all the time. Don't know why you make me do. It's what it works, they gonna wash me away. I gotta stop. Why you do me like you do? Crazy love.
It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening. Hope you're doing all right. You got a busy show scheduled for today, as usual, and the rest of the week as well. So make sure you keep it right here, wherever you're listening, whether it's live on Fight Now TV, whether it's live on the internet through BillyCBoxing.com and Max Boxing and LDL and all that other stuff. Whether you're listening on a replay or watching a replay, or whether you're the bestest people of all, our premium podcast subscribers. Show's being brought to you in part by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. 845-221-4099. The show's also being brought to you in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. They got a great show going on. June 7th will be on Showtime. Get yourself some tickets right now by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com. And on the top, on the right-hand side, right on the top, first fight poster you see will be the poster for the event at the Turning Stone on June 7th. Click it and get yourself some tickets. You better hurry up. Remember, June 7th is the Friday night of the International Boxing Hall of Fame weekend. So I'm expecting a big crowd there. I'm going to be there myself, actually. I'm going to be covering the fight ringside, so I hope to see you. So as soon as you get yourself some tickets, make sure you drop me an email, and I'll figure out a way we can meet, because I'm going to be at the old Sausage and Pepper tent at some point on Friday up at the Hall of Fame. So I'll be there, and then I'll swing over to the Turning Stone. I'll sit my fat, watch some great fights at the Turning Stone, maybe grab a bite to eat. Again, everything revolves around food with me because I'm a fat bastard, But anyway, make sure you get yourself some tickets for that. We got a bunch of stuff coming up. Emily Harney is scheduled to join us a little bit later. Last week I blew out the switch box. It broke off in my hand. All the power. I feel like Bam Bam Rubble. But the switch. I went to switch it to call her, and it snapped off in my hand. So wasn't able to call her. But today we will. I got some emails. We got to talk about Andre Ward. In my opinion, doing the right thing. Screw WBC, man. Listen, if you've ever thought that there's some good with the WBC or any sanctioning body, I shouldn't just say the WBC, but if you ever thought that there was good, just remember one thing: they do it all for the money. I mean, they strip these guys, when it's convenient for them. If they got somebody else, make no mistake, a promoter calls up and says, "Hey, we got so-and-so wants to fight for your XYZ belt, and we're willing to pay the sanctioning fees." They'll be like, no problem, and come up with some rule, whether they have to write it on the spot or whatever, to let them accept those sanctioning fees and do the belt. So the bottom line is, you're buying a belt, so I wonder, there should be a poll question. I think I'm going to put a poll question up maybe later in the week. Do you think there's better fighters out there? Do you think there's a fighter out there somewhere that has no title that is better than many of the title holders in his weight class or in her weight class? Speaking of polls, our poll question: should Mayweather give in to Canelo with the weight issue, or should Canelo give in to Mayweather right now? The way it stands, overwhelming percentages for you guys believe that Floyd Mayweather Jr. should shut the F up and just fight Canelo at his weight. 71.4% and 28.6% of you say that Canelo should. So tomorrow, Wednesday, we got the blast from the past. Lloyd Marshall, one of the great fighters that he was screwed because of the color of his skin. And Alex Papali and myself will be discussing Lloyd Marshall tomorrow. My man Scotty Krause will be joining us tomorrow as well. We'll get his thoughts on. He was ringside for the fights in Atlantic City, the Lamont Peterson fight. I will tell you this: he wasn't too happy with the undercard. So we got that going on and all that happy stuff. So anyway, I got a couple of emails. We'll get started with the emails. The Yo-Yo 2011 is busting my you-know-whats. He says, nice shirt yesterday. And he's referring to yesterday's shirt. He didn't see today's yet. Yeah, I know. Yesterday was like my old man flannel. It was freezing cold here in New York on Sunday and into yesterday, mostly yesterday. And then all of a sudden it got really hot and humid just for a couple of hours towards the end of the day. And but up until around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it was freezing here. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just getting old. But I just can't take the cold anymore. I'm waiting for my man. I put all my eggs in one basket, and I'm waiting to move to a warmer climate. So hopefully that's going to come around soon. I actually got two warmer climates I'm looking at, so either one will work at this point. And I say this as we enter the summer here, and it does get a little hot and sticky in upstate New York. But thanks for busting my you-know-whats, the Yo-Yo 2011. I know it wasn't the greatest shirt to have. And I would be wearing, everybody's asking me, where's the jackets, man? Where's the sport coats? When it starts to get a little warmer, and the old Billy C studio can be cranked up to 50 or 60 degrees, then I don't have to wear those. But in the wintertime, when we're chipping the ice off the terminals, off the computer screens, because we don't have enough premium podcast subscribers to pay the heat bill, So we got to chisel the ice off the computer screens, and that's why I wear the sport jacket. You know, I covered up. I look snazzy and stuff, but really I'm for a reason. You know, but anyway, Snoop Stock says Denis Ledebev looked normal before the fight, but after the fight he looked worse than the Elephant Man. Yeah, I know. It was pretty sad. You know, John Muskiunis from LDL TV sent me. He's he and I talked immediately after the fight, and he was just totally aghast at the whole thing. You know, not only the look of Ledebev, but his team and the ringside doctor just letting him fight. But he sent me a photo. It was like Quasimodo, and Hosimoto, whatever his name is. You know, the hunchback guy. And, it wasn't the hunchback, I guess. Was he the hunchback? I don't know, man. We all know who he is. But a picture of him. And side by side, they had a picture of, John put a picture of Ledebev after the fight. And, it's almost hard to tell the two apart. As a matter of fact, Quasimodo or Modi Toto or Toto 2 looked better than Denis Ledebev.
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Rosselli Enterprises. Rosselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flowboys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Rosselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RosselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the number 1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IDO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IDO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at iboboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Box with Billy C show. And thanks to the all the smart guys in the chat room. Yes, I was just corrected. Quasimodo was indeed the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I think Hollywood is contacting my man Denis Ledebev to see if he's interested in playing the part. Anyway, my man Castle Hill Gil starts off his email, Billy C, my main man. Castle Hill, you're a cool dude. Hopefully we'll get to meet in person one of these days, if we haven't already. You know, I'm trying to figure out, I know that our paths have crossed at fights before. I think you had mentioned that. So I'm trying to picture. I thought you might have been somebody else. I don't want to mention names, but when you were talking about refereeing and stuff, I thought that you were somebody I had met. But hopefully when next event we're at together, make sure you come up and at least give me a hint to who you are, will you? Anyway, he says, my main man, you're a pioneer and a visionary. So many boxing radio shows out there today, and you've been doing it for 10 years. It's true. We're in our 11th year. For those of you guys that don't know that, we've been doing this show for we're in our 11th year right now. We're proud of that, even though I'm glad my man Castle Hill Gill is giving me credit. A lot of other people don't give us much credit. I know you guys, the boxing fans, do, but no one else actually does. Which sucks because I see them all copying our stuff all the time. I mean, from big to small. So it really, at first it didn't bother me. Now it's starting to bother me, But anyway, he says, love that you're talking about the most important thing that happened over the weekend. I'm a fan of most of the other shows. What? He says, yes, I cheat on your ass. I'm a boxing slut. It's not that I don't listen to the other shows. Honestly, I don't because, and I don't want to sound like, we think who we are here at the Billy C Boxing Network, but, we haven't, there's not any shows that compare to ours in a whole, as a whole. The quality of the show, the consistency of the show, the topics that we cover. I mean, there just isn't, and I don't mean that. And with that said, I have actively been making myself available to any of those shows that want me to come on as a guest, and they can do what they want. They can grill me, they can get my thoughts, they can do whatever. I'm willing. It's not that I'm not willing to help them or anything like that, but I do try to keep ourselves separated. And if you do listen to other shows and they have an interest, tell them to reach out. I'll be glad to come on any of those other shows. He says that we're talking about all the stuff. He says anyway, they did Ledebev. He's saying I'm talking about. I think he mentions the radio show, so I'm assuming he meant they, meaning the people of Russia, not the other radio shows. He says anyway, they did Ledebev a huge disservice, and you are one of the few people talking about this. This was the top story this weekend. It was a disgrace, man. In Castle Hill, I'm glad you recognized that. And first of all, it was a great fight, but and this is something that kind of falls into what we talk a lot about. The sweet science. You got a guy that goes over the top with his fan following of Floyd Mayweather with Given Quality, but Given Quality's points are actually to avoid something like this. If Denis Ledebev had anything like something called, what's the word? Oh yeah, defense. If Ledebev had a defense, if he was taught a defense, if he had a trainer that was a teacher, maybe some of those shots, don't land, and maybe he doesn't get as disfigured. So I mean, there's an argument for a lot of reasons why it happened, but the fact that it was entertaining, is a sad reality of our sport. But there comes a time when entertainment and excitement and, energy and action and all these, accolades you want to put with it, there comes a time when the humanity issue has to come in play. And those people that were in charge in Russia last week failed to protect not only one of their own, but a professional boxer. And Denis Ledebev deserves all the credit in the world because he's a warrior. He's what I want in a fighter. He's a guy that will fight, that will do what he's told, and he's looking around him. His trainers, his handlers, his promoter, his manager. Somebody in the third row. I mean, somebody to protect him from himself, and no one did it. No one did it. Not even the ringside doctor. And that is appalling to me. As much as I like to see action-packed fights and phone booth fights. I mean, I'll admit it. I love it, But there comes a time when you just have to say stop. I mean, Muhammad Ali getting pummeled by, Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes looking at the referee. Are you going to stop this? You want me to kill this man? Same thing was being shouted from Guillermo Jones's corner from my man Carl King. He's saying, what are you going to do? Why won't you stop this fight? You want this guy to drop dead here in the ring? I mean, terrible thing. And I'm glad my man Casa Hill Gill agrees with us. He says we got to give Jones a lot of credit, and Don King ain't going nowhere. Listen. Bernard Hopkins, as much as I've gained some respect for him over the last several months, that was a really stupid old Bernard Hopkins-esque thing to say. And you really want to hear Bernard Hopkins sound like a total moron, make sure you tune in to watch him handle the microphone duties when Paulie Malignaggi fights Adrian Bronner, because apparently he's going to be replacing Paulie for that night. And he did it once before on ESPN. He is awful. I'll never forget. I came on that Monday saying, listen, he's a great fighter and everything, but please don't put a mic in front of him again. Wait till you hear how bad he is. And you wonder what. I wonder what these networks are thinking. It is so important to have the right broadcast team when you do. You know what? Talk to John Muskionis of LDL TV. He knows. He's learned. And it makes such a difference when you have somebody that knows what they're doing versus and somebody that presents themselves well. Like I have never seen, in my opinion, Al Bernstein is the best. All right. And he has been brought down. I mean, he's down to normal. I mean, he's just ordinary these last few events he's done on Showtime. And the reason is because they've surrounded him with morons. That Morello, whatever his name is, he is awful. And then you got Paulie Malignaggi, who has some good stuff to say, but it's just, Fran Drescher. I don't know. Anyway, Don King ain't going nowhere, and that's for a fact. He says you can't get rid of him. He's like a cockroach. It's true. The world comes to an end. There'll be a couple of things living. Cockroaches and Don King will survive. But he says, and then I mean that in a nicest possible way. I hear you, man. I agree with you. He says, I know you love Don. Don King. People just listen. I know that he's done some bad things, but as a promoter, I think he'll go down in history as the best. He may be losing his grip on things right now, but as a promoter, I mean, really, when you stop and think about it, putting aside all of the negativity that has surfaced over the years, you can't deny that the guy has. I mean, listen, he makes an ordinary fight. He makes Tom Sawyer painting the fence, whitewashing the fence, seem like an event. I mean, come on, and that's what a promoter does. Today's promoter, they'll sit a fighter down and say, well, you want to be on the show? How many tickets can you sell? How many tickets can you sell? And they put the burden of selling tickets on the fighters. That's today's promoter's motto: is never invest a penny and make sure all your fighters are selling all the tickets, and they sit back and collect the money. And that's terrible. And people wonder what the problem is. And I've said it. There's a lot of people to blame for the sport of boxing for some of the negativity. But if you had to pick one, which separates themselves from the rest of the pack, clearly is the boxing promoters, in my opinion, anyway. He says, Matisse looked like a beast. Caught it live, drove down there with my lady, and I went to see, and now I want to see Danny and him get in there and decide who's the best 140-pound fighter. He says, I hope they give us that fight. I think they're going to. Remember, this has become, Castle, you're in the biz, this has become a promoter's a sport. Meaning that, whoever's got the fighters under their blanket, you'll see those matchups. So, fortunately for us, we have Danny Garcia and Lucas Matisse, all under Golden Boy. So as much as I believe Golden Boy is bad for the sport, at least they're going to give us this fight, which is a good one. It is already in the works. According to Richard Schaefer from Golden Boy, they are starting negotiations on that fight. So I will get into that a little bit later. He says, what if Lucas and Danny exchange left hooks, Billy? He says, that's what I'm asking myself. When they both land at the same time, now he's referring to Lamont Peterson and Lucas, put Danny in there instead for the same exchange. He's got a better chin than Peterson, and he's got better power than Peterson. Matisse will not like the results. Not sure if he wants to trade hooks with Danny, but he favored that left this weekend, and it was full. And it was on full display. Matisse's right is definitely better than Danny's in his opinion, in Castle's opinion. He says, what do you think? He says, it's an absolutely fantastic show. Talk to you later. Thank you very much for the accolades. And, would you stop cheating on me, Castle Hill? Come on, man. You know there's only one show. But great point. Quickly, my thoughts on that fight. Danny Garcia, we've had Danny on. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to call him. I think I'm going to call in one of the break out an old recording of me telling him when he was young. This was when he was a kid. I think he was like 6-0 or something. And I said, when you become a world champion and when you become rich and famous, don't forget about us. And he promised he wouldn't. And I think I should call in that card right now. But I think he's a quality fighter. He's been groomed. He does have some weaknesses, and I think one of them is the fact that he will stand and trade, and sometimes he actually prefers it. I think he prefers it all the time. But the thing about Danny Garcia is that he makes a lot of correct adjustments during the fight. Now, as far as Matisse goes, this is a guy that's been in there pretty tough, and he's been arguably robbed, for his losses. And the thing about that I enjoy about Matisse is that he learns from performances that weren't overwhelming, so that he won. In other words, the two fights that he got robbed on, he learned from, and he has never made the same mistakes. He doesn't get into a complacent groove where he's just going through the motions and stuff. He tries to be the more active fighter each and every round, which is very important in today's scoring systems. Sometimes it doesn't matter with today's judges, but the thing with him, and I said this yesterday, and this is why I was like saying, too bad, we couldn't somehow get a fight between him and Floyd. Now, I'm not suggesting at all that he's better than Floyd or anything else, but what he does do, and what I think might pose a problem for a guy like Floyd Mayweather, is when you consider Floyd's strength of making his opponents fight his fight, that's what Matisse does, but he does it in a more brutal way. He gets fighters to exchange with him, and it would be interesting to see if he could accomplish that with Floyd, because Floyd is so proficient at not letting that happen, and B, if he does, what's the outcome? I know he'd be a little smaller than Floyd. Does he still have the pop to put Floyd out? The guy is a beast. That's an understatement from Castle Hill. Gil calls him a beast. That's an understatement, and he certainly showed that on Saturday. And as far as Lamont Peterson goes, I don't know what it is about Lamont Peterson, but he didn't look good. He didn't look good against Matisse. We know that. But a lot of people don't give this guy much credit, and maybe it's justified. I don't know. He clearly is not fighting, at least to the level. But remember something, no belts were on the line. No belts were on the line for that fight. So, everybody still has their belt. Well, at least Lamont Peterson still has his belt. So, anyway, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, we're going to talk more about emails, and thanks again for the email, Castle Hill Gil, you the man. We got another email or two. Actually, we have several emails. We're going to have Emily Harney on in about a half hour, and we got Andre Ward pulling a deal that I absolutely love, going up against the big green monster. No, not the outfield fence in Boston, but another green monster. And some verbiage out of Carl Froch, which really is kind of separating him from the pack, too. And when you think about it, between Carl Froch and Mikhail Kessler, who's fighting this weekend, combined, they're about 70 years old, man.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I would
think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. from upstate New York and the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C, the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. My fellow Americans, good evening. Welcome back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It's great to be here discussing the sweet science with everybody. I love boxing. I love talking boxing. It's what I do.
Bill.
Wait, what?
Bill.
Why are you interrupting me? What?
Wrong.
What's the problem?
Billy,
what?
C.
I did not have...
We're gonna have to ask
wrong
you.
Speech. What do you mean wrong, Billy C? What's going on here? Fine, I'll go. I just wanted to talk some boxing on TPSradio.net. That's all I wanted to do. I don't need your damn show. I'll get my own talking wrestling with the other Billy C. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. I've always been a Hulkamaniac anyway.
Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talking Boxing with Billy C on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. Did you think we weren't coming back? I think we were going to hear that same music over and over and over and over. You're watching the Billy C Show. Glad you could join us. Welcome to Fight Now audience just joining us right now, like they do every day. You know, I got to tell a funny story. I'm gonna expose some of the big wigs over at Fight Now. You know, Fight Now television making a lot of leaps and bounds here as we grow the channel. But one of the things you may notice that's a little different is that our show is 2 hours long, right? And we start at now. We start at 5:30 in the morning. We're looking to go to the PM time slot. I believe a couple weeks, and we're only 90 minutes on Fight Now. They pick us up at 6, and the reason for it, the truth of the matter is we used to have separate websites before BillyCBoxing.com took over for all of our stuff. The show had its own site as well, and the Talking Boxing site, and it's still an active website. I mean, if you go and enter www.talkinboxing.com, you're still going to get a website. It's actually going to forward you to BillyCBoxing.com, but nonetheless, but on the old site, Jeremy, who is our producer, he never updated the time. We used to have a separate morning show that was ran. We had two shows. One ran in the morning. That was strictly just a morning show, that kind of a content, and then we had the nightly show. And when we had the morning show, it ran from 5:30 to 7. So it was, or maybe it was, 6 to 7:30, just like Fight Now. So when we decided, when we got added to their grid, they went to the website and saw that, the time was there, 6 to 7:30, and they filled out our spot in the grid, and that's how we end up with 90 minutes. So the other day I was talking, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want him to get mad at me, but I was talking to one of the bigwigs over there, and he says, I always wondered about that. I didn't realize that the show was 2 hours. And I'm like, well, he says, I always wondered why you always said, we're on from this time, but we're on Fight Now from that time. He said, it never even dawned on me until you explained it the other day. It's like, yeah, that's why, man. So when we do change the time slot, we are going to a full 2 hours. So we're looking forward to that. Anyway, we got an email here from XD Raven 2. He says, I agree, Billy C. For me, the same day weigh-in is a must. I can't stand it when fighters like Chavez Jr. only win because of the weight he puts on. Look at his fight with Andy Lee. Lee only beat him. He says, look at his fight with Lee. Only beat him because of the weight difference, not making this an attack on Chavez, just using this as an example. I'm not sure if he only beat him because of the weight advantage, but he was pretty big that night. But speaking of weight advantages and same-day weigh-ins and stuff, our very own Henry Haskell, who is responsible for supplying our daily trivia question. This guy is a guru at finding information. And according to his research, he said that the same-day weigh-ins got tossed in 1983, primarily because of the fight that was scheduled between Eddie Mustafa Muhammad and Michael Spinks. It was a unification world light heavyweight bout. It was being broadcast on HBO, and Eddie Mustafa Muhammad came in overweight, and rather than try to lose the weight or anything, he said this is the way it is. He offered to fight, without the belts on the line, and Michael Spinks got pissed. Michael Spinks was like, you know what? I'm not making any consolations. I busted my you-know-what to make weight. I respected the sport. I came in. I made weight. Eddie Mustafa Muhammad didn't, and I'm not going to fight. End of story. And the fight was canceled at the last minute. So HBO, the television execs, the sanctioning bodies, and different promoters got together, and they decided that it would be in the best interest of the sport if they have the weigh-in the day before to prevent something like this from happening, so that maybe they had more time to, pay them off to fight or something. I don't know. But the official going to the day before weigh-in, according to my man Henry Haskell, was that fight. There was some other issues with some other fights he mentioned. And one he wanted to bring out was in 1982, Boom Boom Mancini and Dooku Kim, the fight that really changed Boom Boom Mancini's life and career when Dooku Kim was died after the beating he sustained. Apparently, he was having trouble. Kim was having trouble making weight, and was trying to slim down to make the weight for the same day weigh-in, and actually wrote on the bathroom mirror, "Kill or be killed," saying because of the hard work he was doing to try to drop those last couple of pounds, which he did, and we all know what happened. So, the reasons, safety reasons, television reasons, money reasons, is why they went that route. I believe in same-day weigh-ins at this point. I think we would get true champions in the respective weight classes. So, a 160-pound guy would be a 160-pound champion. I think today, like I said yesterday, the initial idea was that it's an even playing field, because if I have 24 hours to rehydrate and you have 24 hours to rehydrate, we'll both be fine. The problem is some people's bodies can dehydrate more and ultimately give them an edge, like XD Raven is referring to with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So thanks for the email. Got a couple of more here. Alex T wants Andre Ward to stand up and take a bow. I hope more fighters follow his lead. He's referring to Andre Ward deciding to trash the WBC belt that he has, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I agree with Alex T, who also says a couple of notes. He says, the story about Elmer Ray's family contacting you is awesome, and it's one of the reasons I love your show. You think you're going to hear something like that on one of these other shows? No, I don't think so. That is something that we try to separate ourselves. And something for the record, I remember several years back, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I had gotten an email. I think it was one of the only negative emails I ever received in almost over 11 years. Most of the emails are positive. Very rarely do I get one, "You suck," But this one said, your show would be so much better if you didn't talk about the old-time fighters. I don't care about the old-time fighters. All I care about is what's going on today. And, it was a weird thing. Now I know that some of you guys accuse me of favoring the old-time fighters. I know some of the guys in the chat room right now are favoring that. But we got my man Coach K saying that there's some issues with the Fight Now audio. I wonder why. That is. Nobody's contacted us there, so I hope they know that there's some problems with audio. Did you try turning up your volume on your TV set? But anyway, as long as there's volume everywhere else, we know it's not on our end. So, but anyway, I found it strange. I know that a lot of you guys think I favor the older fighters, and I guess in a sense I do. But part of the show is we want to keep the memory of these guys alive. And in case you missed it, Elmer Ray, Tony Treeman and I did a heavyweight spotlight on Elmer Ray, who was regarded as one of the most vicious heavyweights punchers in the history of the sport, and he's virtually forgotten. The bottom line is, the guy is virtually forgotten, and really nobody even knows when he died, what became of him, what he did afterwards, and all that stuff. And his granddaughter reached out to me, and happened to have been doing some research and searched her grandfather's name, and our show came up, and she wanted to thank us for that. And I've reached out to her to try and get her and her father, who's the son of the late, great Elmer Ray, to come on the show and talk about him and give us some information. As you recall, Tony Treeman and I talked on the air about possibly doing a joint collaboration on a book about Elmer Ray. So who knows? We might be getting the data that we were looking for. He says, Lucas Matisse, this is Alex T, says, Lucas Matisse is easily one of the hardest punches I've ever seen in my life. I was trying to compare his power to other fighters I've seen. Edwin Rosario comes to mind. That's a good comparison. He says, but when Malignaggi mentioned Julian Jackson, I think he nailed it. I would say Julian Jackson and Gerald McClellan are the two hardest hitters I've seen, and Matisse is on that level. He is a power puncher, there's no question. Julian Jackson was kind of a freak, right? He only had that one thing, power. He didn't have much. Otherwise, I think a lot more people would know him more. And Gerald McClellan, of course, a good fighter. So, some great comparisons. He says, when Danny Garcia fights Matisse, he's going to get hit and he's going to get hurt. I think if he beats Matisse, he will beat him on pure guts and will, because technically he doesn't have the skills to outbox Matisse for 12 rounds. That's going to be the test. not only does he have the skill, does he have the fortitude to keep up a boxing game plan and avoid Matisse's power. And like I keep saying, Matisse has this, ability to make you stand and fight. And Danny's going to be easy to coax. We know that. Man. This guy does not mind exchanging. Lucas Matisse might be too powerful for Danny Garcia. We also Zeb Judah rocked Garcia. Garcia was clearly in trouble in that fight. And Zeb Judah doesn't have a fraction of the power of Matisse. So we'll see what happens. He says this is a type of fight that can change one guy's career for the worse. I'm afraid even if Garcia pulls it out, he's going to take such a beating in the process that he may be spent afterwards. But I don't think that will happen. He says, but I am picking Matisse by knockout. He says, Guillermo Jones, which it's going to be a tough one to pick. He says, Guillermo Jones is a great story that has been flying under the radar for many years. This is a guy who once fought for the junior middleweight title and then went on to be a cruiserweight champion. Now they're talking about him going to heavyweight. This is Sam Langford type stuff. A guy jumping way up in weight, and somehow he holds on to his speed and power and skill. And he's been he's been beating some quality fighters at cruiserweight. It's amazing. I think if Jones had been promoted better, he would be a top name in boxing. I give Don King credit in a recent email to you, but he dropped the ball on this guy. The knock on Don King, especially lately, is the fact that his fighters are not busy. And I think Guillermo Jones is a great example of that. However, Jones has shown something to Don King and the rest of the team over at King Promotions, and that's loyalty. The knock on Jones is that he hasn't fought. Well, that's because of Don King, but he stayed with King, and I know for a fact that fight, Guillermo Jones had owed Don King some money, and that fight pretty much evened it up. And the next fight that Jones is in, he should set himself up financially. So. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And yeah, you're right. I mentioned that in the breakdown that he was a junior middleweight contender and champ, and he's a cruiserweight guy. They're talking about him moving to heavyweight and even going up against Klitschko. He's a big dude, and he's a nice guy in person if you ever met him. He said finally, Ledebev looked like he had been in a car accident, and I'm not trying to be funny. It was grotesque. Everyone involved in that fight, from the commission to the governing body to the ref and the doctor, are damn lucky that Ledebev didn't die. Maybe he didn't die in the ring, and maybe he didn't die by definition. But let me tell you, that fight and that beating took the life out of Denis Ledebev, and it really bothers me. And I understand Alex T's point. And thank you very much for the email. He did look like he was not in a prize fight. He looked like maybe he got beat up by a couple of guys with bats and stuff. Listen, it was uncalled for. No human being, should take a beating like that. As soon as the words were in my mind, ready to say, I think of Victor Ortiz. But there comes a time when, enough is enough. And when you start becoming disfigured and you can tell, what kind of doctor lets that fight go on? I can't get over it. I know I've talked about it. I talked about it on Sunday. I was on a show on Sunday. We talked about it yesterday. I'm talking about it today. I've talked about it to anybody that reaches out to me and we talk. It's just, I just can't get over it. I could see the team, trying to keep the fight going. Ledebev's team. Not that I agree with it, but I could see them, being too macho for Ledebev. I could see Ledebev in the corner saying, "Don't you dare stop it." I could see all these things, but when it comes to the doctor, I hope. You guys have heard me be critical of promoters, of commissions, of sanctioning bodies, pretty much everybody, judges, referees. I'm a critical SOB. But you've never heard me really, get on a doctor, because I kind of hope, and I thought, and obviously I'm wrong, but I thought that doctors, the ringside doctor, has to be a guy that you can rely on, especially if you're a fighter. If you're a fighter, man, you want to rely on that doctor to make the right decision. Now it can go both ways. You certainly don't want a doctor that sees a little blood and is saying, stop the fight. Oh my God, this guy's bleeding. No, you don't want that. But sometimes these cuts, you wonder, like the ones that you see that are inside the eye socket or on the eyelid and stuff like that, and they're bleeding and stuff, and doctors let the fight continue. You wonder about that because you got and a fighter's natural instinct when they see their opponent bleeding is that they're going to go after that injury. It's a barbaric part of our sport, but it's a fact, and you go after that injury because it becomes a weak spot. And you hope to expose it and possibly get a fight stopped. Now, I could see some doctors letting a fight go a little longer because maybe if the cut was caused by an unintentional headbutt, you don't want to see a fight end that way. But for the most part, those types of cuts, the eyelids, inside the eye socket, those kinds of cuts should really be looked at a little more carefully than some doctors. But I'm not going to criticize them as much as I will with the situation with Denis Ledebev. Ledebev not only had a cut in his eye, not only was his eye swollen. To me, you can't even suggest by a little bit that he could see out of that eye. It was sort of like, how many fingers am I holding up? 2? No, 3. But good in there. You're okay. Can you see this hand? No, I can't. Oh, well, here. If I put it in front of your other eye, can you see it? Yeah, okay, you're good. Are these the questions this doctor's asking? This guy should be banned from the sport. He should never be allowed to perform ringside doctor duties again. Listen, I haven't heard a thing other than the fight result out of Russia about Denis Ledebev and his condition right now. If anybody does know, or if they have a link to where how he's doing right now, I'd really appreciate you hooking me up with it. Drop it to me in an email, Billy@talkinboxing, TALKING.com. James Curl, the James Curl. This is a famous guy. This is the guy that did the book, the only book on Jersey Joe Walcott, and there's a lot of other things going on. And you can meet him and get a copy of his book up at the Hall of Fame this year. And I'm going to see him, and he's my bodyguard, by the way. So if anybody messes with me, they're going to mess with big Jim Curl. He's a monster. He should be playing football for the Jets. I wish he was a little younger, because then I would talk him into. Not that he's old. He's way younger than me. But I would try and talk him into going to play for the Jets, man, because we need some big monsters like Jim. But James Curl says, Billy, great news about El Murray. See, now all these guys that are recognizing this El Murray thing, it makes me feel good, because that's one of the things that we try to accomplish with this show. And obviously it's working. He says, great news about El Murray. That's unbelievable that you made contact with his family. Keep us, he says in parentheses, your listeners posted. 2 other fighters that would be nice to find living relatives would be Curtis the Hatchet Man Shepherd and Tiger Jack Fox. Yeah, you're right. I think there is a relative. I got to double check with Tony. I think there is somebody from Curtis the Hatchet Man Shepherd. I think there is. I'll double check with him. Excuse me, but man, what was that? I was choking. No, not on a cough drop. Everybody says, "What are you sucking on cough drops?" Yeah, because I'm talking for 2 hours. I mean, what do you think? But thanks for the emails, guys, and yeah, gals. We didn't have any gals, but anyway. We got this statement I'm going to read from Andre Ward concerning the WBC right after the Emily Harney segment. But I wanted to mention that Carl Froch and Mikhail Kessler are going to have their long-awaited rematch this weekend. And it is one of the fights on the Billy C Challenge, which, incidentally, I had gotten all up to date, and I fell behind. We had some things going on, and I will try to get those updated rankings in the on the webpage, as well as our Billy C rankings So if you're interested in joining the challenge, email me, Billy at talkingboxing, TalkinBoxing.com. But please, only if you're serious. We did have a couple of people recently that signed up and then, never picked any fights. So they're going to be off the list, sort of like Chatty. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. But anyway, Carl Froch and Miguel Kessler are going to be getting it on Saturday. And, I love the Brits, and their descriptions of words and stuff. And Carl Froch has predicted that this fight would be vicious, that the fight's going to be vicious and barbaric. As you recall, last week, Miguel Kessler was saying that he felt that since, Carl Froch has, been hanging around with such a hot girlfriend, and now that he's a father and stuff, that he's soft, that he's not the same guy, and he thinks that he's going to do well. Now, he's 35 years old, and Miguel Kessler's 34, so between the two of them, they're almost 70 years in the ring on Saturday. Here's the most important thing, and this is what Froch said, and this is why I respect this guy. Arguably Carl Froch and Andre Ward, and I guess you could also say Abner Mares. You look at those three fighters, and you look at their whole career, and you look at the level of opposition that they've fought, and I would challenge you to find anybody currently that's active today that has fought a tougher schedule in terms of opposition, level of opposition, than those three guys have. And considering that, Carl Froch said, and I quote, "If I'm going to be totally honest," which I hope he is, he says, "this is a 50-50 fight." He says, "It's there for me to win, and it's there for me to lose as well." He says, "I know it's going to be very, very tough. It's going to be a brutal fight. It could be quite vicious and barbaric. But the both of us are in there to do a job. We're both really tough, strong warriors at the top of a game, so it's a pick-em fight." My question to you is, how many fighters, I know we've heard promoters say it, I know we've heard managers say it, we've heard, TV execs say it, the suits and everything else. And speaking of suits, does anybody out there remember Cecil? If you can name, I'll tell you right now, this is totally a sidetrack. And I'll give you a hint of how you can find information on Cecil. Cecil was a famous person that's associated with this show. So if you're a long-time listener of this show, you will know who Cecil was. And I'll give you one little hint. Jeremy might be a solution for you to find out who Cecil was. So if you could somehow get a hold of Jeremy, then maybe you can find out who Cecil is. If you can be the first one to tell me who Cecil, this isn't even a trivia question. If you could tell me who Cecil was and what his role was on our show, then I'm going to send you a prize. I'm going to send you a book. I'm going to send you a book or maybe a T-shirt. I got some T-shirts I can send you. So it's going to be something decent. If you could tell me who Cecil was, email me, Billy at talkingboxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Getting back to my original thought, which was who knows what. I've heard promoters, I've heard managers, I've heard big execs at the TV networks all say 50-50 fight, but I honestly can't recall another fighter admitting that his upcoming opponent was going to be a 50-50 fight with him. Generally, you hear the guys who are confident, I'm winning this fight, I didn't come here to lose, blah, 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 blah. Or you hear the other side of the coin, I'm going to do my best. When you hear a fighter saying, I'm going to do my best, I'm going to give it a shot. Don't expect them to go too long. They're a fighter that's already lost. But very rarely do you hear a fighter stand up and do an interview and say, honestly, this is a 50-50 fight. It could go either way. I can't recall a fighter saying that, honestly. Even in the heat of a promotion. I've heard them give their opponents respect, accolades, blah, blah, blah. But, I've never heard them say, it's a 50-50 fight. So I've heard fighters say, I don't have a chance, I'll try my best. And I've heard fighters say, I'm going to annihilate them. But I've never heard fighters say, you know what, truthfully, it's a 50-50 fight.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com.
That's TALKINBOXING.com. And place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh? What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. And for all the Fight Now viewers, I guess your sound just came on. We got the play-by-play going here by Coach K, and he told us that it's back. And speaking about being back, joining us right now, the beautiful Emily Harney. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning, Billy C. How are ya?
I'm doing better than Dennis Ledebev must be doing this morning. Did you catch that fight at all or what?
I saw some bits and pieces of it, but man, that guy, I mean, he ate some really good punches. I thought he was going to go down quite a few times, and I can't imagine what he looks like today.
Oh, man. I thought it was horrific, really. I can't figure out another word to describe it. And the ringside, I mean, come on, you have been, of anybody, you have been as close to the action, aside from being in the ring yourself, than anyone I know. And you've seen some brutal, fights, cuts, swelling. But tell me, have you ever seen a doctor? I mean, and I'm not, I'm not looking for the occasional time when you're saying to yourself, wow, that cut's pretty bad. I can't believe the doctor's letting it go. But I mean, for the most part, haven't doctors really kind of, protected the fighters a little bit? I mean, have you ever seen anything like this where the guy is literally patting him on the back and saying, go ahead, you're fine?
No. And you almost wonder, like, is he listening to the corner? And they're going, he's fine, everything's fine, and he's like, okay, they say he's fine, he says he's fine, let's just go. You just wonder what's going through his head at that time. I mean, personally, I wouldn't have wanted to push him back in there. But the doctor had, maybe he had a little wager on it. Maybe he needed to see it go another round. I don't know, but yeah, come on, buddy, let's go. Here you go. It was crazy.
It really was. The scene that I will never forget. I thought the fight could have been stopped in probably realistically. Some people are saying by the third round. I'm saying okay, he's the champion. He's in his hometown. By the sixth round, it was so gross. I'm saying to myself, okay, they're going to stop this fight now. And he kept looking at it, saying it's okay. But the worst was just before the knockout. Now I'm wondering if it was the end of the 10th or if it actually was in the beginning of the 11th. But the referee Stanley Christodoulou brought him over to the doctor, and the doctor's looking at. It was so bad, Emily, all right? I mean, the doctor's looking at him, and he gives him a thumbs up, you're okay, and turns him around and pats him on the back and sends him back to the center of the ring. And I was appalled. I couldn't believe it. I just, I just hope the guy's okay, Ledebev. I really do. It's. I don't think anyone really needs to take a beating like that. And what happened to his corner? You've seen corners stop fights with way less than that. I mean, Buddy McGirt stops fights, if his fighter's taking too many shots, he wants to protect his fight. These guys, nobody was protecting this guy, and it's sad.
No, I agree. I don't know where people's heads were during this fight. You're in your hometown. You think, he's going to rally and be able to knock his opponent out, or, he's going to get the hometown decision, all based on what we were seeing in that fight. There was no way that he was going to get a decision. So I don't know, what they were thinking, continuing to send him out there. And I agree. I hope he's okay, too, because you don't know the long-term effects of what we saw go down.
Great point, especially long-term. You're right about that, But Lucas Matisse, he got in the ring against Lamont Peterson and put on a show, man. I mean, it takes out Lamont Peterson. What's your thoughts on that fight? And will Danny Garcia and Matisse get it on?
Well, I was really shocked. I expected Matisse to fare well against Peterson. I was 50-50 on the fight, because I was in Lamont's corner. I thought, all right, this kid's going to be able to really have a good brawl with Matisse and get the win. And I knew Matisse was a good fighter. I think everybody knew that, but I don't think anybody knew what kind of power he had. And I think he even surprised himself with what he did. So it was more than a shocker. If I was ringside, I think I would have been gasping and cursing and, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening right now, as everybody else was. So for what we saw of 3 rounds, I'll take it. It was worth every penny. If you were there as a ticket holder, it was worth every penny to see what you saw in those 3 rounds.
It's funny. I thought Lamont Peterson was going to take it too. I thought that he would, because he has the boxing ability. Lamont Peterson has the boxing ability, and he's got hand speed, and I figured that he would fight smart. But I'm giving Matisse a lot of credit for basically forcing his style of a fight on Peterson, who will exchange. And I think that that's what his game plan will be against Danny Garcia if he gets in the ring. And I even went as far as saying, dreaming, I would love to see a guy like Matisse fight a guy like Floyd Mayweather, because Mayweather's a fighter who's, he's very proficient at getting other fighters to fight his game plan. It would be interesting to see if a guy like Matisse could get Floyd to fight his way.
I agree. And, talking about Danny Garcia getting in there with him, I think Danny's got a lot of work to do if he's going to get in there with Matisse. I think Danny's a great fighter. I think he has a good package put together, but, there are a few elements that we saw in his last fight that are missing. And if he gets in there with somebody like Matisse, who destroyed somebody like Lamont Peterson, Danny is going to have game plan A, B, C, and D and know how to fight Matisse's game plan to win.
Devon Alexander looked like the old Devon Alexander in the fight with Lee Purdy. I mean, he was engaging. He was throwing a lot of punches. They seemed to have some pop behind him. I thought he looked good, but I got to be honest. Obviously, I want your thoughts on that, but I also got to be honest with. I started thinking of Lee Purdy, and I'm saying, man, this guy should be from Rhode Island, because he was a guy that reminded me of an old time New England fighter.
Yep.
He was tough. Did you see the fight at all or no?
I saw bits and pieces of that one. I tuned in as that fight was ending, so I had to go back and watch a few rounds of that. But Devin, I think Devin is such a young fighter that he hadn't really found himself in that consistency. We saw him win years ago at Mohegan Sun. I don't know if you were at Mohegan Sun when he fought
Juan Urango.
Oh man, yes, yeah. Juan Urango, and nobody expected him to knock Juan Urango out. And here's this young kid coming in and creating all this hype. And he was on this road to victory, and then all of a sudden we saw him fall off. And I think when you have all of that at such a young age, not only just as a as a legit, years on this earth, but young age as a fighter, I don't think you really know how to handle all of that. And I don't know if that got the best of him, or, was, training all the time at that young age, where you don't have that social life. I don't know if that got to him, but we did see the old Devin Alexander, and I'm hoping that we continue to see him because he has a lot to offer. He's a great package for a promoter to put forth, and if he doesn't fight to the best of his ability, then he's not going to have the fanfare.
You're right, and I used the same fight. I was ringside for that fight and the Juan Urango fight, and that was when Devon Alexander really was, exciting. He not only does he take Urango, who was a big puncher at the time, he drops him with a beautiful uppercut, puts him out, and was never the same fighter until this past weekend where he was engaging and stuff, and he was showing his hand speed and everything he showed us that night in Connecticut. So I agree with that 100%. Sugar Shane Mosley fought in Cancun. I figured he was just taking his family there for a vacation because his father was in his corner, his son was in his corner. He ends up coming out of there with a win, which kind of surprised me a little bit. I mean, I love Sugar Shane Mosley. Don't get me wrong. He's one of the best guys to meet outside of the ring, and a fantastic fighter inside the ring. But I really think that he's pushing the envelope. He shouldn't be fighting anymore. To me, he doesn't need to fight. He has nothing to prove. Financially, he's sound. And he fought a tough kid in Pablo Cesar Cano, and I don't know what else to say. I mean, it was a close fight. It could have gone either way. I just think Cano needs a lot of. He needs to throw. He needs to be more consistent. But did you see that fight? Did you get a chance to watch that one?
I did. And before this fight, I was thinking, okay, they're trying to get Cano a win against a good guy, and they figure Shane will be a good name to put on the resume, and not an easy fight for Cano, but we'll get the win and we'll move forward and we'll get a bigger fight. Well, the game plan didn't work, and you're right, it was a close fight, but it went in the opposite direction. And, why do I need to see Mosley continue to fight? I don't. I have so much respect for him for what he's done. I don't want to see him go out against a guy, not necessarily Cano, but anybody who's trying to, make a step up. He could potentially go out in fashion that, we've seen Roy Jones go down, and I don't want to see that with Shane Mosley. He doesn't need to prove anything. I don't even think he needs to be a stepping stone for anybody else. So I'm happy he got the win, no doubt, but I don't want to see him continue to fight and anything potentially bad happen to him.
No, you're right. And I was wondering, and I was talking about this yesterday, I was wondering if he's going to take that fight and if he's going to, walk away with a W, and say, okay, now I'm really retiring. I ended my career on a positive note. Or if he's going to use that fight as a stepping stone to another big payday. And we happen to have had Shane on this show several times. And if you go and listen to 2 interviews that we have with him, you can see and hear, well, actually you can't see, but you can hear the difference in his voice. He is starting to slur his words right now, and I think for health reasons he should stop, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I can see him in the back of his head probably thinking, well, not a lot of people saw this fight, so yeah, I got the win, but I got to get that big win where everybody sees it, so he can go out in stellar fashion, but that could be that one fight that just changes everything for him. And if a guy like that who's done so much in his career and so much for boxing and can still do so much out of the ring for boxing, you just don't want to see anything bad happen.
No, I agree. And I had heard that he was going to get into promotion and stuff, so we'll see. This weekend, rematch, Carl Froch, Mikkel Kessler, will be on HBO at a great time. I love watching stuff earlier in the day. I don't have to drink coffee and stuff. But what's your thoughts on this fight? I mean, these are 2 guys that you could argue with the result of their first fight. They're both at the top of their game. They're both at the top of the game, but looking downward on the hill because they're in their mid-30s. And they're both the style of their fights are usually people get hurt in these fights. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, this could go either way. I would love to see it go in Carl Froch's favor. I would like him to avenge his win. The last fight could have gone either way. You're absolutely right. And this fight has the potential to be a great matchup because both guys, like you said, are in the same situation. They're about the same age. They're in career-wise. They're both in the same situation, trying to figure out, is this it? Is this the next step to the next world title, and that be it? They're not newbies in this game at all. So they're both coming in with a pretty even playing field. I want to say that Froch has more of a game coming in, just based on what he's gone through in the last couple of years, who he's fought, the outcomes of his fight. Kessler, not so much. He's had some issues, but I'm hoping it goes in Froch's favor. But it's going to be a good fight. It has the making for, a potential war. So I just hope we get that. And I love afternoon fights. I love when somebody texts me and they're like, boxing's on right now? I'm like, yeah, it's on all the time, but, you just don't pay attention to the TV at night. So I'm excited that HBO is bringing it back during the day.
I agree with you. I just hope they, take Carl Froch's hot girlfriend and put a piece of tape over her mouth so she gets so bad in those fights. It's funny. They actually use her as part of the show because when she gets all jacked up and yelling and screaming and it's pretty comical to watch. But another fight this week. And I don't know, you're probably going to be ringside for Delvin Rodriguez against Freddie Hernandez over at Mohegan Sun. Are you going to be at that one?
I will be. I will be there. I'm excited.
Yeah, Alex is going instead of me. I haven't been to Mohegan. I was just thinking today, I haven't been to Mohegan Sun in a little bit. I'm going to be going up to the Turning Stone for the fight in a couple of weeks. But what's your thoughts on Delvin? I know we've all seen Delvin make his rounds at the casinos in Connecticut and of course in New York. You never know what you're going to get with this guy. I mean, I like Delvin, and every time I think he's finally turned the corner, he lays an egg. And then when I think he's done, he comes back and he performs at the top of his game. I mean, the only thing consistent about Delvin Rodriguez is inconsistency. And again, he's on the verge of getting another shot should everything work out for him. What's your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, you said it best. The only thing consistent is inconsistency. You absolutely never know who's going to walk out into that ring in terms of a fighter. It's Delvin, but you don't know what Delvin you're going to get. And, I often wonder where the disconnect is with him, and a lot of time I have to think that it's in his heart. I don't always think that, his training regimen is right, but his heart, more than anything, I think sometimes gets the best of him. And that affects, of course, the way that you fight. And here he is, having big opportunities, usually when his heart is in question the most, and that's when he seems not to perform to his best ability. I hope Friday night that, he has a good fight against Freddie Hernandez, that it puts him in position for a big fight, and that in that big fight he takes advantage of it. This is a kid that I've seen fight since almost the beginning of my career in boxing. So I want to see him get that big shot and win it. You want that for him. He's a good guy. He's a respectable individual. So I want to see success for him.
I agree with you. I feel exactly the same way about him. It's funny. I've had him on the show a couple of times, and there was an interview that I did with him a couple of years ago. And, I started thinking that, oh, man, he's starting to slur his words and, he just wasn't sounding the same. But then the last interview we had with him, which was recent, I think it was right around the Paulie Woloch fight, he sounded great, so maybe I just caught him on a bad day or something, but he seems fine. I mean, he seems okay despite being in wars. And he's got the body and the style where he should be a boxer, but you're right. Sometimes, if he gets tagged or something, next thing you know, he wants to show that he's got heart, and he stands there and goes toe to toe, and he's an exciting fighter to watch at times.
He is, and I just hope that we get that Friday night. I know ESPN loves him, so you want everybody else to love him. So as long as I think he puts forth his best effort and can capture that win in stellar fashion, then he'll get that opportunity to fight that big fight. and do his promoter, pay him homage, because Joe's been by him this entire time, and I just hope that, he gets that payback to Joe.
Yeah, Star Boxing is, I wish, and I'm good friends with Joe DeGuardia, and the thing is that the only knock I have on him is that he doesn't open his checkbook to get to that next level. Now, in all due respect, I mean, he doesn't need to. He's doing pretty fine the way it is, but he's got a lot of good fighters, and I think Star Boxing could have been one of those promotional companies that got to that next level above where he is right now. And I think he's just happy to be where he is. That level promoter right now, because of the war going on between, Golden Boy and Top Rank, are actually in a good position for themselves to make money, because these promoters won't fight each other. So if they don't have the fighter in the weight class, they're going to go to these, Joe DeGuardias and the Gary Shaws and the Lou DiBellas to get, the fights for their champions. And I think that puts these that next level promoter in a good spot.
Yeah, no, I agree. But to go back to reach it in your pockets, it's unfortunate that there are a lot of promoters out there who won't reach in their pockets for their own fighters. And I can't tell you how many fighters, I sat in on meetings when they first signed their contracts with certain promoters, and they're promised the world. And, 3 years later, they're not given certain things, and things that were pretty acceptable, for a promoter to be giving. They're not getting them. And it's like, well, why was I told all these things, And it's like, well, look at the track record of the promoters that you're dealing with. You really have to do your research before you sit down and sign on the dotted line. But like what you said, where certain promoters don't want to deal with, the bigger promoters because they just don't get along, or, whatever television they're dealing with doesn't want to deal with them, that's where the guys like Joe DeGuardia make out, and they make out well because their fighter gets put on a card. They don't really have to do too much of the legwork for putting the show together, and their fighter can walk away with a nice win and set them up for an even bigger payday. So,
exactly.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But, to around here, to the fighters that, we have in New England, I feel bad for a lot of them because, they're promised the world, and the reality is that the world isn't there for them with the certain promoters that they're working with.
Well, as long as the promoters open up their checkbook to pay you to take pictures, everything's cool, right?
When does that happen?
It's supposed to happen. But, the thing is that, a guy like Peter Manfredo Jr., I think, really when you look at it, yes, I agree. Like, this is a guy that maybe could have, gotten those humongous paydays and stuff if a couple of things went in a different direction. But the old theory of being a big fish in a little pond isn't bad either. I mean, Peter Manfredo is a great example of that because he can go anytime in New England, whether it be Rhode Island or Connecticut, and sell out an arena and put on a show that everyone's going to love watching and perform. Vinny Pazienza did it. I mean, obviously, Vinny did better on the world stage, but he also was very loved locally. And you can make a good living out of it, and ultimately that's all that matters. And I think some of the smaller promoters, the ones that get it, the ones that understand that they're not going to become Golden Boy, can do well if they make the right moves. My big hang-up with promoters today, Emily, is that they put the burden on selling tickets on the fighters that they're supposed to be promoting, and that bothers me because a promoter is supposed to sell the tickets.
Yes, exactly. I agree. That's what frustrates me when you go to a press conference and you hear a promoter up there. I can do everything you need, everything outside of the ring. I'll do for you. You just need to train. Oh, and by the way, you need to sell those 400 tickets that I just handed to you. And if you don't sell them, you're not the main event anymore. So it's like, oh, okay, now I need to earn my purse times 10. It doesn't make any sense to me. I can understand if you're, the first couple fights out and you want to sell some tickets, great. But why, like you said, put that burden on a fighter? They already have enough pressure, to train, to fight, to make weight, to do everything they need to do to perform to their best ability, to make the promoter look good.
No, you're right. Then all those things that promoter does for them, then they hand him a bill at the end of the fight. Oh, by the way,
Exactly.
that advertising, those new trunks you're wearing, those shoes, that fancy whatever I bought you, here, you I didn't buy it, you bought it. It's coming out of your purse, So that's the other part they don't realize too. Promoters don't give them nothing. They loan it to them, right? So, but anyway, it's sad, but it's true, and that's what. That's a part of it I can't stand. But anyway, so you're predicting Carl Froch in the Miguel Kessler fight? Was that your?
I'm taking Carl Froch. I'm not going to say he's going to knock him out, but we could see a potential late TKO. Based on how big of a brawl it could be. We've seen both guys, bloodied and battered before. So it's a potential for a TKO, stoppage based on cuts or, swelling. But I would like to see Froch come out victorious in this. And I just hope for a good fight between the two of them. And I really don't expect anything less.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a good one, and I'm looking forward to it, especially at the normal hour it's going to be on. So anyway, Emily, I'm sad that I'm not going to see you this weekend at the Mohegan Sun, but Alex will be there. So
all right. I'll wave. I'll wiggle my fingers around my camera to you. I'm not going to wave to you because I don't want to get in trouble for that. But I'll certainly wiggle my fingers on camera to you.
Sounds good. I always pick you out. I know when you're there. When I see you, I'm like, oh, there's my girl right there. She's right there. So with your best seat at the house always. I'm jealous. But anyway, enjoy the fights, and we'll talk next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
All right, Emily. Take care. That's Emily Harney, the best boxing photographer in the business, and she's going to be ringside for the Friday night fight. So you'll be looking for her, and you can find her easy. When you see the hottie, the dark-haired hottie, that's her. She's my girl. She's another one of my dream girls for sure. But anyway, we got some other news to talk about, and the Andre Ward situation. But before I get into that, we're going to take a short break. But remember when we were talking about Lucas Big Daddy Brown? He was the guy that just fought James Toney, and it was a tough fight for him. Now Richard Towers was another fighter. Now if you go to our website www.billycboxing.com and under the latest news section, which is on the right side menu, you will see a write-up, a press release about these two guys. They're actually going at it. All right, but here's the reason why I want you to look on the website. Several months back, maybe 6 months ago, these two guys were sparring together, and I happen to have a photo of them together in happy times. Richard Towers is the guy that's kind of sitting on the ring apron, and Lucas Brown is the one standing there with all the tats. And these two guys went from sparring partners and friends to going at it coming up on July 25th, and they're going to be fighting in Australia. So I'm looking forward to this. Two young heavyweights that are going to be fighting each other. And the thing is that I love watching this situation when you have two young fighters going at it. Rather than try to pad their records and just avoiding quality fighters and all that stuff. Similar to the guy who I think is pretty much of a fraud in Deontay Wilder. And speaking of Deontay Wilder, I have some updates on him too. We know that he signed with Golden Boy, and he's trying to maneuver himself and get a shot at a world title. It had been rumored that he was going to fight Derek Chisora, and then that actually was supposed to come up soon, and then that kind of got shoveled under the carpet. Well, now he signed with somebody, one of the guys that seems to make things happen, and it's kind of a bad news for me because I was waiting to see Deontay Wilder actually get in a real fight before he got a shot at a world title, but what's going to end up happening is going to be that he's not. They're going to protect him. They're going to feed him some cupcakes, and then he's going to get a world title shot. He's going to eventually become a mandatory somehow by fighting these stiffs, and that's bad for the sport. You got all this good, positive stuff going on, and then you got, him. But I'll talk about that, and I'm going to read Andre Ward's official statement as soon as we come back in about 2.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
I have a bunch of questions, Donnell, right? If you feel like you want to, you can answer for JD first. Why will you win? JD Chapman, why will you win?
Baby Holmes will get sick and get hit by a train that day on the way to the fight, or he might have diarrhea, he might have the flu, he might throw up. One of his eyeballs might fall out that day, and I might get lucky.
Talking Boxing
with Billy C.
In the real world, life has its shares of trials and tribulations, but you don't have to face them alone. This is Patricia Campanaro of Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you are facing emotionally difficult family legal issues from divorce to child custody, reach out to the team that will dedicate themselves to fighting for you, the team of Campanaro and Tomkovich. With almost 30 years of experience handling divorce, child custody, legal guardianship, visitation, and other legal issues dealing with family concerns, we can help you resolve the problems you are facing with professionalism and care. Our supportive staff is always ready to assist you with any questions or concerns you may have. To find out more about Campanaro and Tomkovich, visit us at duchessnylaw.com or call us and speak to a member of our attentive staff at 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Don't be surprised at court with inexperienced representation. At Campanaro and Tomkovich, we have been helping our clients get the justice they deserve for almost 30 years, and we could do the same for you.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, Talking Boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway, up on the boulevard like a zip gun on parade. Lights up a silhouette, he's in some butter net, coming at you on the count of 1, 2.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Glad you could join us. And as promised, we got some stuff to talk about. But first, don't forget about being a premium podcast subscriber. Not only will you ensure that you get every single show that we do, regardless if there's some other kind of glitch with a video or something like that, we always give the premium podcast subscribers the show, so they never do without. It also is a convenience. You can listen or watch the show whenever you want. Whether you're driving to work or working or watching the kids at their after-school activity, it's a great convenience for you, and it also gives you the ability to watch or listen to our specials. Everything that we do is available as a premium podcast subscriber, and the most important thing is, listen, if you're watching a show on Fight Now TV, or if you're watching it on some of our other channels and stuff that you can get the show, and you want to support the show, well, a good way of supporting the show is to become a premium podcast subscriber. It's only $15 for a year, for the year, not a month. I know people tell us we should charge that a month, but no, it's for the year. So do us a favor. We need it, and we hope that you can support the show. So all the information about becoming a premium podcast subscriber can be easily obtained by visiting www.billycboxing.com and click on one of the banners that say Billy C Premium, and that'll bring you right to where you got to go to sign up. Before we went to break, we were talking about two young heavyweights going at it, even though when they can't, and it makes me think about Andre Ward a little bit and what just took place yesterday. Now, a few weeks back, it was announced that the WBC decided to basically label Andre Ward as their champion in recess, and because I can't pronounce their word, emeritus or whatever they say it, and they decided to make Seiko Bika and Marco Antonio Paraban that fight for the world title, for the WBC world title. Now, all that meant was that, they want to collect some sanctioning fees, WBC. And make no mistake, Jose Sulaiman makes it seem like this guy, like the WBC is the ruler of boxing. And he believes that he is. And for the most part, I also think he believes that he's doing good for the sport. Now, last week you heard a statement from Howard Goldberg, who's the president of the WBF, and he blatantly, didn't mention names, but he blatantly comes out and says how the WBC are bullies and how they basically, tell fighters, if you're not going to play ball with us, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And this is something, and they don't protect their fighters. Make no mistake, they don't protect their fighters. All they care about is a promoter who's going to write the check. And, when you take a guy like Andre Ward, who is, he's such a poster child for boxing. I mean, this is the kind of guy that we want to represent the sport. He's a good guy outside of the ring. He fights. He's seemingly getting better and better and better inside the ring. He has fought everybody and anybody. The only knock on him is that he usually fights at home. He doesn't travel much like Carl Froch does. But the guy is a pound for pound fighter, a top pound for pound fighter, and he's everything we want. Unfortunately, he's not as popular as he should be, but that's because he signed with a promoter that doesn't invest money in their fighters. But he also showed us character by staying with Goosen. And I think the world of Andre Ward, and I got to meet him in Las Vegas not too long ago. Great guy, gave me time just to BS a little bit, a few minutes. That's it. That's all. He was on his way someplace, and he stopped and gave us some time and spoke with me for a little bit. And the other thing about this guy is he sustained an injury that postponed a fight, and immediately WBC didn't want to wait around. Now, I just want to get off of Andre Ward for 1 second and mention Floyd. And the reason is that Floyd has made it obvious, and so has Manny Pacquiao, that they don't need championship belts in order to make a lot of money and sell pay-per-views. And I think that was one of the best things that we could do. As a matter of fact, Floyd's taken it a step further. You got two, not one, but two sanctioning bodies bending and rewriting their rules just to keep the guy belted with one of their belts. I mean, make no mistake. The WBA, there's no reason in hell that Floyd Mayweather Jr. should be listed as a world champion for the WBA junior middleweight division. He hasn't fought. That fight was one fight against Miguel Cotto. He beat him, and that's been well over a year ago. But yet he's still listed. The WBC, they listed him as a welterweight champion because he recently won. So he showed us that. And I don't even believe that he pays any sanctioning fees, to be honest with you. And I don't know this for a fact, but I heard a rumor about it once. But I'm not going to say fact. I just said I think he does not pay. But here's the thing. Andre Ward, in my opinion, did the best thing. He was insulted by the stripping of his title, and he had this to say. After careful thought and consideration with my family and my team, I've decided to relinquish my WBC Super Middleweight World Champion title. It's the Champion in Recess title. He says, as has been recently reported, the WBC has decided to strip me of my world title belt, making the upcoming bout between Seiko Bika and Marco Antonio Parabam for the vacant Super Middleweight title. After consultation with my manager, James Prince, and my attorney, Josh Dubin, it's my belief that the WBC did not have the right to strip me of my world title and name me champion emeritus, or however you say that word. He says, we voiced our position to the WBC, and after several discussions, have agreed to disagree with their interpretation of the facts and the rules. In our opinion, we feel strongly that I didn't violate the rules in any manner whatsoever. When I fought Chad Dawson, there was no mandatory contender. Subsequent to my victory, I injured my shoulder and have remained ready, willing, and able to defend my title within the period specified by the WBC rules. Nonetheless, without what we feel was appropriate due process, the WBC has elected to strip me of my world title. I think my track record in fighting the best opponents available speaks for itself. I worked extremely hard and dedicated my entire career to win and defend my WBC belt. As a matter of principle, I have chosen to stand up for what I believe is right. I think the fans know and appreciate that I am the super middleweight champion of the world, and I trust that I will continue to be recognized as such. I am back in training again, feeling great and excited about my return to the ring. You know, I hate to say this, but there's another problem with Andre Ward and the WBC. And, you know me. I'm not going to be afraid to say it. He's not Mexican. He's not Mexican. You know, they pull the strings and bend the rules and stuff for Mexican fighters. There's no question about it. You know, Andre Ward, hey, you know, maybe he's too squeaky clean. You know, maybe he, you know, they don't want him. They don't want his kind as a world champion. You know, maybe they don't want good guys. You know, the WBC typically are slime balls. You know, and it's a shame because there's so many people involved with the WBC that I know and respect and like a lot. You know, there's there's several of them that you know I like. You know, Joe Dwyer is one of them. You know, Jill Diamond, I love her. You know, she's one of the nicest people I've ever met. You know, both very strongly tied with the WBC. And, you know, this is in no way, shape, or form blanketing them in this, but, you know, WBC has made a poor decision here, you know, and let me ask you this. My only question is, you know, if they were putting, you know, Carl Froch and Miguel Kessler to fight for a Viking title or you know, a couple other fighters or whatever, you know, maybe it doesn't sting as hard, but Seiko Bika and Marco Antonio Paraben? Seiko Bika's had more chances, you know, at titles. I mean, yeah, he's an exciting fighter, but you know, this guy is not. I'm sorry. And the interesting thing here is Seiko Bika is also a Dan Goosen, or at least he was promoted fighter, as is Andre Ward. Now, I think that the guy that they're looking to hopefully title here or crown is Marco Antonio Paraben. You know, they're very they're very biased towards their own, and that's their home is Mexico, and if you look around at all the WBC champions, most of them have a connection to Mexico. You know, what they did to Sergio Martinez was right along the lines what they're doing to Andre Ward. Sergio Martinez didn't do anything except win. You know, and then all of a sudden he gets stripped of his belt, and you know becomes well. They didn't call it stripping, and they technically didn't call to the press. They didn't say that they stripped Sergio Martinez. They said they elevated him to the diamond-studded Super Mongoose champion, which is their version of the Super champion, and they actually didn't say that they stripped Andre Ward. They said they've claimed due to injury that he's a champion in recess. And by WBC rules, when he's eligible to fight again, then he immediately gets a shot at the title, which, you know, truthfully means that if Seiko Bika and Marco Antonio Paraben fight, the winner of that fight, if Andre Ward was ready, 6 months from now or whatever, that he would immediately get that fight, you know, to get a shot back at his title that they took away. You know, listen, it's terrible. A murderess is what they're trying to sound out for me. You know, it's pretty sad, right? Pretty sad. You know, hey, I have a hard time. That's why they call me Billy C, because I can't even pronounce my own last name. But anyway, Andre Ward, I wish you all the luck in the world, man. And talk about a fighter that does a really good job at commentating. Now, I'm not gonna tell you that I think Paulie Malignaggi doesn't do a good job. I think that he says all the right stuff. I love what Paulie says. His content is dead nuts on. It's just his voice that's just so annoying, and when they put the camera on him, I just laugh. He's just such a I don't know. But Andre Ward is the guy. He needs a little more experience, feel a little more fluent when he speaks, but and I think that's just a little bit of nerves, but he always deflects it, even when they try to put him on. Well, you're a champion, he might refer to that, and then bam, he deflects it right to the two fighters that they're talking about. And I think a lot of commentators today are forgetting that we want to hear about the guys that we're watching. We don't want to hear about the fight that's coming up next week or the fight that took place last week or, all that stuff. We hear about all of that on this show. You want to learn about everything going on in the sport of boxing, you tune into the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. If you want to catch up on the news, I laugh every Friday night. Well, I fast forward it anyway because I record it and watch it at 4 in.m. But I fast forward it all the time because I can't stand listening to all the old news. They start bringing up all the stuff that we've talked about 4 days ago on Friday Night Fights. So I feel sorry for any fight fans that call themselves fight fans and all they do in following the sport of boxing is watch Friday Night Fights and watch HBO and Showtime and NBC Sports and Fight Now TV and all these channels that air boxing. If that's their connection with the sport, they're missing out. They're missing out big time. Sahir Rahim is returning to the ring against Justin Juco on June 1st at the another Battle of the Boat 9000. No, it's 92. So we'll see what takes place there in that one. But this weekend is a pretty good chance. There's a pretty good fight. There's a world heavyweight title fight going on for the WBF, the World Boxing Federation World Heavyweight Championship. Michael Grant, who's the champ, is going to be making his first title defense in the hometown of his opponent, Carlos Takim. It's taking place Friday night. Michael Grant, has been willing to defend his WBF title, but it was very hard to find a promoter to promote it. And we're going to see Michael Grant take on Carlos Takim in a fight that's going to be one of our Billy C challenges. The WBF International Heavyweight Champion is Carlos Takim. He's got a record of 27 wins, 1 loss, 21 of his wins coming by knockout. And Michael Grant, he won the title way back in November of 2011. And, has been waiting for an opponent ever since. And as a matter of fact, the WBF was contemplating on stripping him of his belt because he didn't defend it within a year. However, it really wasn't his fault. There was several fights that were brought up to Michael Grant that just could not be put together because Michael Grant isn't working with a promoter per se. So he had to wait for another fighter to come up to challenge him for his belt that would actually stage the fight. And he found one in Carlos Takim. It will be taking place in France on Friday. So Grant, 48 wins, 4 losses, 36 coming by knockout. In case you were wondering, he beat Francis Botha to win the title back in November of 2011. So that will be looking forward to this weekend. And finally, it was announced yesterday that none other than Al Heyman has signed a team, or I should say Deontay Wilder. And so now Team Wilder consists of his trainer and Wilder and everything, and Al Heyman. And Al Heyman, hey, this is a guy that's been pretty damn successful in the sport of boxing. There's no question about that. He helps all his fighters. He's got all the connections, all that happy stuff. I'm just not that happy with Deontay Wilder. I mean, I get criticized for seemingly bashing trash talkers, and that's totally not true. There's nothing I like more than a trash talker that backs up his trash. Carl Froch is a good example. Adrian Broner was a good example, but now he's carrying it so far. That was one of the funny things. One of the funniest things I thought I heard was Saturday night watching the Showtime broadcast and listening to Paulie Malignaggi make fun. Now, I don't know if you caught this, but, and this is the God's honest truth, Paulie Malignaggi had the balls to actually make fun of Adrian Broner's outfit that he had on. Adrian Broner Adrian Broner has a knack for making sure you see him on the camera. The first time he realized that he does that, he was wearing like some, puffy vest, another time like this bright yellow shirt, then he's donning the big 1972 sunglasses. Now he's got braces on. I don't know if he's actually trying to fix his teeth or if he's doing it as style. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, come on, I'm in my 50s, so I'm a little out of touch. Are braces actually in style? Is that something? I'm not confusing that with a grill, because it didn't look like a grill to me. It didn't look like he was donning a grill. Zab Judah grill. It didn't look like that. It looked like braces to me. It looked like regular old braces. So somebody enlightened me on that one. But I don't know if you caught his getup, but he had like a old style, I call him a 50s hat. It was made out of straw, and he had that on with some 1972 sunglasses and a shirt. And Paulie Malignaggi's making fun of his outfit. Paulie, but obviously Paulie doesn't look in the mirror and look how stupid he looks. Doesn't realize how stupid he looks with his hair, with his stupid face. The way he's always got that look on his face. Come on, some of his outfits. Although I will admit, I like some of his outfits, but I find it completely humorous to have him making fun of Adrian. But what I was starting to say about Broner was, he does back up what he says, except he's pushed it too far. And I'm not talking about the get-ups. I really don't care how anybody looks or dresses or anything, and I make fun of Paulie only because. He's just a clown, and I think he would call himself a clown. To be honest with you, he's a clown, But and we'll see how good he is when he fights Broner. But I just the thing about Broner is that he pushed it too far. Like his MO is going too far. And he hasn't proved it enough. I think if he demolishes Paulie Malignaggi, maybe he gets a little more credibility. I mean, to knock out Paulie Malignaggi is a good thing. Paulie doesn't get knocked out. Whether you like him or not, he's got a good chin. And if the poor guy had better hands, maybe he's a better fighter. I don't know. I just can't stand when he refers to himself as an elite fighter. He did it again on Saturday. If you want to be a top welterweight, us top welterweights, Speaking of welterweights, we got not one, not two, but three-time world champion Humberto Soto. His record now 60 wins, 8 losses, a couple of draws, 34 coming by knockout. He's going back to the ring on June 8th, and he's going to be putting his belt. He's got a silver belt on the line, going up against Hiroshi Nakamura, who's got a record of 33-5-1. It's going to be the main event on June 8th. Now, the co-promoter of that is Eric's Terrible Morales Box Latino, his promotional company. So we'll see what happens. Also, Luis Ceja will be on that card as well, going up against Jose Alfredo Zuniga, and unbeaten super featherweight Adrian Estrella, 11-0 with 11 knockouts. He's going to be putting a belt on the line against Luis Carlos Bam Bam Martinez, Adrian Estrella is fighting Colombian Luis Carlos Bam Bam Martinez, and Ray Vargas is taking on the old TBA, which is always a tough opponent. Man, TBA, he comes to fight, man.
Wake up. It's time for It's too early for a trivia question.
Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question. Question is being brought to us by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. And their fight that's taking place June 7th, which will be broadcast on Showtime. I'd love to see you there. I'm going to be ringside. It is the Friday night of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. So if you want to go up and hang out with a bunch of boxing people and then come on over to the Turning Stone, that would be great. Make sure you say hello to me. I will be ringside, but I want you to buy tickets today. You better hurry up because it's going to sell out. A great venue, great place to watch fights at the Turning Stone. Check out the website, www.billycboxing.com, and click the fight poster, which you can't miss. It's the first fight poster on the right-hand side, right on top. Click that. It'll take you right to where you can get tickets at the Turning Stone box office. So get some tickets and then drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. Let me know where you're going to be, and maybe we'll meet. We'll have a drink, or maybe you can catch me at the Sausage and Pepper tent at the Hall of Fame grounds and all that stuff. So make sure you show up for that fight at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino. Tell them Billy C sent you, but definitely use the link that we got set up for you very easily on the website, www.billycboxing.com. Just click the fight poster. You can't miss it. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question, which is sponsored, or which is provided by our very own trivia question guru, Henry Hascup, is a tough one. This is a tough one, and I've gotten several incorrect answers. But here's the question, and it's hard for me to even give you any hints. I have an idea of a hint that I'm going to give you should we get to the end of the week in this. But name, and listen to the wording, okay? Name the biggest group of brothers who each retired with more than 100 pro bouts under their belt. The biggest group of brothers. Now, there's been many brothers that have fought in the sport of boxing. Not that many had more than 100 fights each, but there's been a lot of brothers in the sport. But this, what we're looking for here, is the biggest group that has fought more than 100 bouts professionally. And if you know that answer and you're the first one to email me, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com, you'll win the prize. Name the biggest group of brothers who each retired with more than 100 pro bouts under their belt. And don't forget about a bonus question I got going on. If you're a longtime listener of this show and you know who Cecil was, if you can tell me who Cecil was, I'm going to give you a T-shirt. I'm going to send you a T-shirt of some kind, or a book, or whatever you want. So if you know who Cecil is, and I'm giving you a hint on that one, reach out to Jeremy from this show, and if you can get a hold of Jeremy, he can enlighten you with who Cecil was and get you the T-shirt. So who was Cecil? Do you know who Cecil was? Anyway, that's not the official trivia question. That's our bonus question. We're looking for the biggest group of brothers that fought for had over 100 fights each. Email me, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. That's right. If you're looking for a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble. That is Campanaro and Tomkovich. Now, it doesn't matter which part of the country you're in. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. That's 845-221-4099. Let Campanaro and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. 845-221-4099. On this day, May 21st in 1933, Tony Canzonori wins a 10-round decision over Battling Shaw. You know, we should do a blast from the past on Battling Shaw, Alex. So make that happen. Tony Canzonori wins a 10-round decision over Battling Shaw to win the World Junior Welterweight title, and that took place on this day, May 21st in 1933. In New Orleans, Louisiana. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. I do have one more thing to say. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. There's only one channel, the Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider and tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call. All information about the channel can be found on our website, www.fightnow.com. See you all tomorrow. Ciao, baby.